This is Alice Mannion. I will call to order this meeting of the Brookline School Board for May 28th, 2025 at 6 p.m. We are going to start with a number of agenda adjustments, so catch me if I miss any of them. I'm going to read them all and then I'll look for a motion to accept the adjustments as requested. The first is a request was made to amend the agenda to include under deliberations board action identifying the winning bidder for the lease agreement for energy conservation equipment at CSDA and related building improvements at CSDA and RMMS. A second request was made for an additional deliberative item regarding board action to authorize the superintendent-elect to hire, accept resignations, and terminate staff until the August 2025 meeting. Another agenda adjustment was made to move non-public to the start of this agenda. Another agenda request was made to add to the discussions the Brookline School Board August meeting date. And lastly, a request was made to see what action the board will regarding the superintendent-elect recommendation for administrative and non-union compensations. Is that all of them?
Yes, I think so.
Fabulous. Can I have a motion to?
Can I just motion to move all of that?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Motion, so moved. Second. Do I have to spell it out?
You're good.
Because that was a lot.
All right, all in favor? Fabulous. 5-0.
I think Tracy.
I
Sorry.
said, Tracy
Oh,
seconded,
I said
sorry.
sorry.
Yep. All right, so in that case then, I am going to put us into non-public here at 6:02, right? Or do we have to? correspondence. Oh, we need to wait for Lynn. Just kidding. We'll pause for a moment.
Well, I'll start with correspondence.
Okay,
Because that's
that works.
easy. Doesn't
We'll start with
require a vote.
correspondence then.
Okay, so correspondence. At our last meeting, we discussed the general assurances, and you guys voted to allow the chair to sign the general assurances. Since then, they've put out an amended version that has a strike through on some of the language that some folks felt uncomfortable with. So I'm going to ask that Allison just sign the amended version because I never submitted the other one. Sorry. Just wanted to share that. All right, moving on to resignations. Okay, dear Superintendent Corey and Superintendent-elect Bergskog, please accept this letter as formal notice of my resignation from my position with the Brookline School District, effective at the end of the 24-25 school year. Making this decision comes with very mixed emotions. My time in Brookline has been incredibly meaningful, and I've had the opportunity to work alongside some truly tremendous staff members across all roles. I'm incredibly grateful for the many experiences I've had, and I leave with a deep sense of appreciation for the people who make this district so special. I want to especially thank Lauren DeGennaro for her support, guidance, and leadership. Under her mentorship, I've experienced tremendous growth in my leadership abilities and professional confidence. I also hold the utmost respect for my fellow administrators, Dan Molinari, Patricia Boulay, and Meg Peterson, whose unrelenting dedication to students and staff inspires me daily. Their commitment, support, and devotion have left a lasting impression on me, and I am a better leader and person for having worked alongside them. I would also like to extend a heartfelt thank you to Cindy Ulrich for her unwavering support, active listening, and thoughtful problem solving. Her partnership has been invaluable, and without her, much of the progress we've made would not have been possible. It is my sincere hope that the work we've done together during my time here has helped to reset a strong foundation for special education in Brookline's elementary schools. There's an incredible group of special educators, related service providers, paraeducators, and classroom teachers who are all well positioned to continue advancing this work and supporting all learners. Thank you again for the opportunity to be part of this community. I will continue to give my best through the remainder of the school year and am committed to supporting a smooth transition. Sincerely, Jonathan Verity, Special Ed Administrator in the Brookline School District. So I need a motion to accept his resignation.
I will make a motion to accept the resignation of Jonathan Verity as an administrator at the Brookline School District with an effective date of June 30th,
yep.
2025. Thank you. Is there any discussion?
I'm sad to hear this news. I think that this is a big loss for our district, so I appreciate the thoughtfulness that went into it, but I do feel sad about this, so yeah, it's kind of a bummer.
I echo that and thank him tremendously for his effort and time with us, so. Anything else? Okay, all in favor?
With regrets.
Yes, with regrets.
Okay. All right. Dear Andy, Gina, Lauren, and Tricia, after careful consideration, I've made the decision to retire and formally end my employment at CSDA, Brookline School District, SAU 41, at the end of the school year in June 2025. This year brought personal circumstances that have prompted me to reflect on next steps and as a result move forward into retirement. It has been a true pleasure to work in the school district for the past 18 years. I'm deeply grateful to have had the opportunity to work alongside dedicated and talented colleagues while supporting the health and wellness of our school community throughout this time. I wish you all continued success. Respectfully, Maureen Lorden.
Ooh,
The nurse at CSDA.
Lori. All right, I will make a motion to accept the letter of intent to retire received from Lori Lorden with an effective date of June 30, 2025.
I'll second and note that it's Maureen.
Maureen. Just kidding, I apologize. Any discussion?
Again, another big loss. It sounds like retirement is a great choice, but I know she's done a lot for our schools and for our students, and especially being a nurse at CSDA, trying to tackle that puberty part that I'm sure is not always easy. So definitely a big thanks for her time here. But yeah.
Happy retirement, and
Yes.
thank you for
Yes.
everything. We appreciate it. Anything else? All in favor?
With regrets. Thank you. Okay. I would like to announce that we have hired Special Ed Administrator Jennifer Dolliff to replace Jonathan Verity at a salary of $120,000.
do we need a motion to
Nope.
accept that? That's just an announcement, right?
Yeah.
Just a quick little bit of history about that one. Her father was the first principal ever here.
No?
Peter Doloff, he was the first teaching principal at RMS.
No?
Sounds like you should start teaching too.
Teaching principal.
Well,
Okay,
there were 3 or 4
there.
before the principal role was the
Okay.
principal role, but
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty.
That's a nice history, I like that. Excellent. All right.
Okay.
Do you have any more?
I have some nominations, yes.
Of
I would like to
course.
nominate Jamie Boissonald for reading teacher at CSDA. She has a bachelor's in elementary ed and psychology at University of New England and a master's in education and reading specialist from the University of New England. We would like to place her at master's plus 45, step 12, for a salary of $81,614.
All right, I will make a motion to accept the superintendent nomination of Jamie Wassenault. I apologize if that's incorrect. For the position of reading teacher at CSDA, step,
Master's plus 45.
Masters plus 45, step 12, and a salary of $81,614.
Oh, second.
Excellent. All in favor?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I would like to nominate, this one I can say,
Excellent.
Amy Connors as case manager at CSDA. She comes to us with a bachelor's in special education from Manhattan College and a master's in behavioral disorders from RIV. She has a master's, placing her in step 14 for a salary of $78,094.
Oh, do I need to make?
No, I was writing it so I can say it. Okay. So I would like to make motion to accept the superintendent's nomination of Amy Connors for the position of case manager at a master's step 14 and a salary of $78,940.
$78,094.
94.
Sorry if I.
Just kidding. I might have just messed the numbers up.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you. Did it?
And that'll do it.
I almost got them all really right, too. How about that? Okay, moving on to the approval of minutes. So, from the Brookline School Board meeting on April 23rd, 2025, the following amendment was offered to the minutes. Page 10, line 28, to correct the spelling of policy. Can I get a motion to accept this as amended?
I'm, how do I say it? Sorry, I motion to amend?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
You make a motion to accept as amended.
Motion to accept as amended.
Excellent. Can I get a second?
Second.
Excellent. All in favor? Fabulous. Thank
I'm going to abstain for the.
Oh, all abstain? Johanna, perfect. And then, I don't think we had any other ones. What is, she had this twice here though, right? Am I missing a page?
We do have non-public minutes.
Is that what this is?
Mm-hmm.
But there was nothing, just to accept them?
Just to accept, and there are no amendments.
Okay, I'm just gonna make a motion to accept the non-public minutes from April 23rd, 2025. All in favor?
Do we have a
Excellent.
second?
Oh, yeah.
Was
Do I
that
have a
Johanna?
second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Now all in favor. Fabulous. Thanks. I'll get this right eventually, guys. Just go with me. Just go with it. Okay. In the interest of time, I'm gonna actually, can I open public input now? I'm gonna open public input now here at 6:48. And there is nobody with us, but we'll remain open for at least 30 minutes or more. And while we do that, to see if anybody joins us this evening, I will turn over to our principals for our principals report.
All right, good evening. For our May Principals Report, we have our enrollment on the first page. At RMS, we've increased our enrollment by 3 students in the past month, and we have several more joining us in the month of June. So we're excited to welcome those new students, because then they get acclimated to our community and into our building, just to make next year's beginning of the year start easier for them. And do you want to mention anything about your enrollment?
we're
You guys are staying?
consistent.
Yep. I wanted to first share that in May, we had a very busy month with testing for New Hampshire SAS testing. grades 3 through 10, right? Is that New Hampshire 10? Is that the last grade?
11.
11, 3 through 11, test for New Hampshire SAS. At grade 3, that's their first year of testing for the state. And we are very proud of the teachers and all of the specialists who helped proctor our assessment. At our June school board meeting, we will present those results to all of our SAS results in our district. But I want to thank all the teachers for their time and effort preparing for the assessment, getting the students ready. But what I noticed, and I'm sure Mrs. Boulay will probably echo this, is when we observed the testing environments, the students were engaged, really focused, putting in their best effort, so we're proud of them for that. We are now starting Ames Web testing throughout our district, so those have started this week, and that's grades K through 6. And then we had a Stone Zoo field trip in the month of May for grade 1, and grade 3 is visiting CSDA next week. They're doing the CSDA Woods, where they're going to take a little walk through the trails as a grade, and then after they come to the building, and in the past, they've always met Mrs. Boulay in the cafeteria, and she would just welcome them and share some expectations of when they come and get them excited. But this year, we've asked Chaz, the new principal, Chaz Miller, to join us on the walking trail just so that he can get, build some connections with the kids, and then he'll get time to meet with the grade 3 students, and then we've built a day for him on June 3rd, so next Tuesday, to meet with all grade levels, and then also open times for the teachers to come meet with him. And then there's a community meet and greet at 3:15 to 4. So that'll be next Tuesday at CSDA. The meet and greet will be in the library at CSDA. And next Friday, we got practice this week, Mrs. Boulay. Next Friday, Mrs. Boulay will be throwing out the opening pitch at the Silver Knights game. She's got quite the fastball.
We're
So,
to live up to there.
That's going to be an exciting night, and there's actually 2 celebrities there, Mrs. Boulay and Brock Holt, who used to be a Red Sox player,
Yeah.
former Red Sox player. He'll be there as well, so it's Brock Holt night and Mrs. Boulay's retirement pitch.
And our Blue Jay, I hope.
I don't know, that's a good question about the Blue Jay.
mean, that
See if
would
he
be
can fly over.
That would be like a third
See if he can fly over.
superhero showing up that night.
Superhero. Yes. We're also excited in 2 weeks to welcome all of our new kindergartners that will be coming next year. They'll be doing our kindergarten screening. What we're excited about doing is we separated them all into classrooms. They're here for a half a day. So there's a morning session and a PM session, and it gives our teachers a chance to really get to know the kids in the school environment, doing different activities, like a morning meeting, some center-based activities, whereas in the past, this will be our second year doing this, where in the past, students just came in and they went to like 5 different stations and then left. So this gives them a chance to be in our building, in a classroom environment, and take off that anxiety piece of entering our school next fall.
And do they do the screenings with the kindergarten teachers, like?
Yeah, so there's 2 kindergarten teachers who
Okay.
will run each of the sessions,
Okay.
the same 2 teachers, so that way it's a consistent evaluation of all the students. And then we have our reading and math specialists who are doing centers along with some of our preschool teachers helping out.
This is the same what you did last year, right?
Exactly, and really, really well. We got a lot of good, like, formative data and informative data from it.
It's really good for the kids too.
Um,
Personal experience, it was great.
It was good, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and our teachers like it too, so I really value how they interpreted that experience, so. We have our field day coming on the 12th, which is exciting. Mr. Mars does a great job, and this year, we have actually a field day committee that have put this together, so it's going to be much more improved. But we've always had a great field day, but I think it's going to be more hands on deck with supporting Mr. Mars with it.
Great.
And then report cards come out last day of school on the 17th. I also want to thank the Brookline Public Library. They've partnered with us to allow all of our classrooms to do a walking field trip. All of our classrooms throughout the building have had a great time going to the library. We value that because it gives the chance for all the kids to get access to the library that may not have that outside of school. And the new library children's director, Alyssa, has done a great job welcoming the students, getting to know them, so she's been very appreciative of that. Thank you to them. We have our last fire drill this week. I think you do too. You will? So we are
Or
up
next
to date
week.
with all of our safety drills for the year. I think we're good. Yes?
So I just heard one piece of feedback on the SAS testing.
Okay.
From several teachers that having the writing on the last day was a lot for the kids.
Mhm.
Like, if possibly it could be, I don't know if it's required
Yeah.
to be in that order.
No, it doesn't.
But like having, because it's typing and they're already tired
Yeah.
from doing it the rest of the week, that maybe doing it on an earlier, like swapping one of the other days.
Yeah, we can look at that. That's good feedback.
Yeah.
And we can talk to the teams about that. This year, we started with math, because we always
Right.
found that that's the easy, like, that's a good one
Like,
to start with.
warm up the brain, yeah.
But what we could look at is, this year at grade 3, we did math, and then we did reading the next day. We
Mhm.
took a day off
Yeah.
because of writing. But we can reorder it.
I mean, I'm not in it every
yeah.
day, so I don't know what makes the most sense, but
Yeah.
it was just something, you had two teachers actually mention.
And last year, writing was first,
Oh, okay.
and it was in March, and then we took a. It was 'cause it
Perhaps
was
there's no good solution.
No, that's good. We can take it back to our teams and talk about.
Yeah,
We have the ability to move it around, which is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of more flexibility. Before, we had to have one grade level test at a time, so in order to make that happen across the whole district, it was a lot more challenging. Now, we can test when the team
Yep.
decides it makes most sense, so.
Can I ask a question too, just about the Ames testing? So, is there concern about the kids getting like tired of testing, like if they're doing SAS testing and then Ames testing like shortly after, like?
So the Ames Web testing is more of a benchmark testing. It's not a full day of test. It's not like
Okay, so it's not
hours
quite
worth of
as
test. It's
intense as
a small window of
Sure.
testing.
Okay, okay.
Um,
I hear that, I'm like, these poor kids just.
We try to space it out so we don't have that test fatigue factor.
Okay.
But like that was grade 3. So we
Okay.
tested early May for grade 3, and they're kind of like the last to test for
Okay.
Ames Web because
Okay,
of
yeah,
that
they get a
window.
break. Okay.
Preschool went to the Care Farm recently for a field trip. Grade K is doing a field trip to Friendly Farm next Friday. I think there's a couple of small little field trips, but so a lot happening in these next 15 days, 14 days? I don't have a countdown.
Maycember.
I'm here anyway, so it's good.
Exactly. And at CSDA, we've been very busy, and as Mr. Molinari was saying, we've had the SAS testing. One thing that, I think we mentioned it last month, but I have to say, Dan, we did a good job for SAS testing, as far as we were observed this year. The DOE rotates school districts every 5 years, and I'll be honest with you, this is the first time I've ever had been in a district where they were observed. And it was kind of intense as far as our preparation of what we had to do, as far as documentation and things like that we typically don't have to do as far as at our level. But Dan and I both received for our schools, so we've, thanked all of the staff and the teachers and the students. They did a phenomenal job just showing that we do provide a secure environment, that we do follow the policies and procedures and requirements for testing. And the letters that we received confirmed that. So that was, it was rather stressful for everyone, but they all did a great job. Today, actually, I was working with students from grade 5 who were taking the accelerated math test, which is a determination if they will be accepted into an accelerated math program for grade 6. At that time, it would be a combined, a compacted class where they would actually complete the curriculum for grade 6 and 7 in 1 year. So I finished the testing today, and Mrs. Bergskog will be correcting those, and I have a few other students to test tomorrow. Grades 5 and 6 this year, we were looking for new adventurous field trips, and we discovered the Aviation Museum in Londonderry, so if anybody hasn't gone, please look up their website. They have phenomenal family get-togethers. I know they have some exciting options out there for families, particularly for Father's Day, so if you're looking for things to do with your families. But it was great because it's related to science. Grade 6, for instance, 2 classes are going tomorrow, but 2 other classes already went. And they said that they received a tour of the museum showing a lot of New England air and space artifacts. They also found out, learned a little bit more about airplane engineering, and they got to design their own paper airplanes and had flying distance competitions. And then you'll see pictures later in the report of students learning what a marshal is. And those are the ones with the wands that bring the planes into the tarmac. So they said they really learned a lot of things that you don't really understand about how difficult it is, and the mechanics of all the individuals involved in having a plane fly off or landing. So they said it was a great, a great field trip, and they learned a lot. We have a lot of other exciting things coming up on June 2nd. We have, this will be the second year in a row of the Hollis Brookline High School seniors returning back to either Hughes or to CSDA to meet with their teachers. And so we'll be giving them a little send-off. And the PTO has generously stepped up to the plate, and they're going to donate some breakfast treats for the graduating seniors. So they'll come to visit. And let's see what else. We have our annual spring concert on June 5th for students. We hope the families and anybody in the community would like to hear them. It would be a great day. I did forget that we also had our Memorial Day service ceremony last Friday, and that was wonderful. The students and the participants did a really wonderful job and really kind of learned about what Memorial Day is really all about and the difference between that and Veterans Day. Grade 6 will be going off to the Brown Center on June 6th, and as Mr. Molinari reminded us, I will be giving the pitch, hopefully, at the Nashua Silver Knights that evening after being in the woods all day. So just so you know, I didn't share this with you, but while I was away on April vacation with my family, my daughter surprised me and packed a glove and a baseball, and they were making me practice on the beach throwing the ball. So they said, hopefully you'll be able to handle it. So we'll see.
It's a sold-out crowd too.
Yeah, great. I can't wait. No, but it should be really great, and I figured if not, I can ask Brock Holt for some tips on how to throw it. And again, we'll also be having Field Day on June 13th, and I know a lot of parents have reached out to volunteer, so we're excited about that. And last but not least, our grade 6 promotion will be occurring on the evening of June 16th, and we'll be wishing for really great weather.
And then we just want to also Mrs. Boulay kind of touched on it, but the PTO has been very generous with supporting all of our field trips along with our budget. Our school district budget has been helpful, and some parent-funded parts of that as well. So a mixture of different funds coming together to make these projects or programs happen. We would like to invite the PTO at the next school board meeting just to have them kind of present what they're doing, and we'll include that in our slideshow as well. They've got some pictures of each of the things that they help support throughout the year. So I thought it'd be nice if we can just give them a thank you because they do a lot for our teachers and our students. So.
I just have, before we move on, for my other school board members here, is anybody planning to go to the meet and greet with our new principal?
I am planning to.
Okay. All right. I'm not able to go, so.
Yes, I will
I
go.
have something
I will
that-
be there with my.
Fabulous. As long as one of us,
Plan.
I would like one of us to be there.
The other.
I was at the actual, interview.
Candidate forum, yeah.
Candidate forum, so I have met
see.
him.
No, that's fine. I just
But-
want to make sure that we're
Yeah,
there
yeah.
to make sure
Support.
support and he feels welcome, and I just want to make sure somebody from our group is there. So
Some
perfect.
confetti. He's very energetic. So.
He's
Yeah,
here.
You go.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that too.
You still want to have a quorum.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think we're allowed to be at the community meeting.
Yes.
and it not
Yeah,
be
that's
a quorum.
okay, right?
Yeah, right?
I'm just being sarcastic.
Just don't talk to each other while you're there.
Yes.
You guys need to stand in a different corner of the room.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dan stand in between.
Baseball time.
Talk to everyone. He'll be like, no, talk.
No talk. All right, anything else from our principals? Thank you guys for everything that you do. We deeply appreciate it. All right, moving on to the revenue and expense update.
Okay.
Floor is yours.
So, a little bit better news than last time we discussed this. As you have been made aware throughout the year, contracted staffing has really caused us to go over budget in those lines, both for support staff and other support services in that category. Also, placement changes for out-of-district students have caused us to go over the budgeted amount. Luckily, we have some savings with unfilled positions and health insurance selection. So let's say we budgeted for a family and plan and someone opted for a single or two-person or no insurance, so that we have some savings there. So looking at that in combination with our revenue, looking at the, let's see, page 8. Our expense balance is in the red, $282,343. We have to transfer $40,541 to the food service unreserved fund balance. Our revenue balance is $353,739. That includes excess revenue from grants, which really just has to fall to the bottom. It can't go in at any of our budgeted lines, leaving us with an unreserved fund balance of $30,856. So looking at that and our desire to have a retained fund balance of $140,000, we can utilize our fund balance from our existing fund balance that we reserved from last year to fund the next year. So if we use $109,144 of that, we would bring ourselves at zero. So not returning any money to the taxpayers, but allowing ourselves to have a fund balance for next year. So all of that will be worked out as the numbers finalize and all the year-end stuff closes in June. The auditors came today for their step 1, and they'll return in August for the thorough audit. And then in our August meeting, we'll discuss what that actual end of year looks like.
But we're anticipating that we should end with
Zero.
everything paid, right at zero. Okay.
Zero, yeah.
Zero is, I just want to make sure it's not like negative.
Yeah, no, zero. And then we also, because a bulk of the lines that we overspent, a lot of those are related to special ed. So if need be, we could have a public hearing and utilize money from the special ed trust, because that's exactly what it was designed for.
Quick question.
Mm-hmm.
I had some questions around some of the contracted services. Is it better to kind of maybe send those to you or Donna so that we can really talk about them in August, since we'll already be in budget season, hope maybe around that time, or?
I guess it depends. I mean, Lauren has to sign off on all of our contracted services.
Yeah.
So I don't know how nitty-gritty they are. You could always send an email to Donna or to Linda or myself if they're just general big picture ones. As we've been talking about all year long, we do have a decent number of contracted paraprofessionals, which cost us, 3 times as much as if we hired our own.
Yeah, that's definitely the topic area that I'd really love to dive into, if when we're looking at contract negotiations, when we're looking at budget and tax caps and things like that, how can we compare apples to apples? So how many contracted, paras, what is the rate, how many hours, like what would it be if we had a staff person in there, kind of some of those numbers?
Yep.
So we'll certainly do a thorough analysis of that as we go through our VESA negotiations next year. Yeah, that'll certainly be a regular topic of conversation.
So if I can follow up on that, just in terms of kind of like you had mentioned that some of the numbers are skewed because we had adjustments in placements. So without going into too much detail, obviously for privacy, are we anticipating that that's going to be continuing, or are we anticipating that there will be a shift in that?
As far as for next year's budget?
Yeah.
So all placements right now are in the budget for next year, so
Okay.
unless there's an unforeseen
Okay. So we
circumstance
kind
or
of
anything.
budgeted for whatever shifts.
Correct.
occurred.
For that shift that happened this year, it's been budgeted for next
Okay,
year.
great. Okay.
But there's a lot of houses on the market.
I noticed that.
Yep.
I noticed that. Okay. Any other questions about surrounding Expenses and revenues, okay. For the agenda adjustment of the lease, do we need to talk about that in discussions first? Or do you just present that in the deliberations, the leasing agent?
Yeah, either
Do
way.
you wanna-
So added to, today, I'm not sure if you are logged on right now, but we added some documents to the revenue and expense update discussion item, just because it was business office related, so I put it there. So we have a memo from our business administrator, Kelly Seeley. If you recall, we approved the lease purchase agreement for both CSDA and RMS for the bulk of the work at CSDA for the boiler, some LED lights and some controllers in both buildings, and the lights in both buildings. So she has been working on getting some bids for funding for that. And so we didn't get any bids. It's a small dollar amount, and so sometimes it's not really attractive for a bank to fund that. So we work with legal counsel throughout all of this, but we utilized additional resources. And because of that intervention, we now have 2 solid bids for a 20-year lease. One of the offers is TD Bank's equipment financing, 4.31% interest rates with equal payments of $82,926.05 for the term of the lease of the 20 years. Option number 2 is municipal leasing consultants at an interest rate of 5.62% interest rate for the first year, payment of $90,565, and then all others at $92,408.36 for the term of the lease. So it goes up slightly. So in this memo, it says both proposals are currently being vetted by our attorney, but they have been vetted by our attorney by end of day today, and they feel comfortable with either proposal. And so I am going to need you to deliberate and make a decision just so we can move the project forward. So I have a sample motion that we can do in deliberations. I will share that the 4.31% interest rate certainly is less cost to the district, but also TD Bank, we do most of our banking with TD Bank. So we've done also other lease purchase agreements with them, and so we feel comfortable moving forward with them.
Okay, so since we're kind of in discussions,
Yeah.
I think, and this is expense related, I think is everybody logged on? Can you guys see these?
Yeah.
All right.
My internet isn't working, but I've looked at them.
Do you want me to stop my computer over so you
No,
can see it?
it's okay.
Okay. I'd like to open the floor and see what you guys,
Is there any
Think-
reason we would go with the higher
Yeah.
interest rate? Like, I mean, it seems pretty obvious to me, but
We just
can
had to get
anyone argue
multiple-
against it?
We just had to get multiple quotes, right?
Yeah.
Minimum 1.
Okay.
So we were happy to get 1, but, even better to get 2. And like I said, the lower interest rate seems attractive, but it's also with a bank that we've done plenty of work with over the years.
Just one point that I found interesting was that TD will, if I've read it correctly, TD will provide the equipment, but the other one is just a lease. Is that?
They won't provide the equipment, no.
Oh, okay. I could have sworn it said that they will.
Do you have any, so like, just having been kind of probably dealing with this longer than like I have, what would you say are some of the benefits that we might experience from going with someone that we have worked with before? So like TD Bank is a bank that we're familiar with, they're familiar with us, we know, like, would you say that there's benefits to that?
Absolutely, yeah.
Process that could be beneficial here, even with, kind of some of the discrepancies that you had talked about?
I mean, going with, I don't want to sway your opinion, but going with a vendor that we already use for lease purchase and use them for our bank accounts, it's very simple to continue that relationship and transfer payments as necessary.
And there's between $9,000 and $10,000 in savings each year.
Correct.
okay, that's what it looks like.
So I think that's kind of,
I do have one question. So they're both fixed rates, correct? There's no
Yeah.
Correct.
variability. And then if, for example, down the road, much better, like say interest rates go down, right? Is there any option to refinance or anything with either of them? Just to-
I do believe there is no prepayment penalty, if that's what you're asking, to refinance,
or
yeah.
okay. On either?
No.
We'd have to roll through the town, that would have to be a warrant article though, right, to
Nope.
refi? No?
You can prepay.
Yeah, so when you
Uh,
refinance,
Okay.
then it's like a prepay because you're ending that agreement.
That agreement, right?
Yeah, and we've done that with others in the past when we started projects in other districts. That was before the rates dropped really low, and so when they did, drop a significant amount, we did refinance.
Okay, so that is an option that could be on the table?
Yep.
Okay.
Um,
So when you
good.
say the lawyers are good with both, like, what does that mean?
They're comfortable with both proposals.
Right,
So we just have to
they're
pick
the
a vendor
same.
right now, and
Okay.
then, in the next meeting, we'll go to the next step. So
What
once
is
we,
the next step?
you'll see all the paperwork that goes along with it, and then you make a decision to authorize to actually sign it.
Okay.
Right. This is, we look at both proposals, we say, okay, we want to go with this vendor.
Yeah.
Then we get the actual
Most of my
paperwork and
days
move
spent
forward.
coloring
Yeah.
with people, so
Okay,
I
fair
get
enough.
it. But like, I just need someone to explain it to
Fine,
me.
that's not a problem.
So we are the lessee, correct?
Yeah.
And, okay, so in the TD proposal, it says
Yep.
lessor shall verify the equipment specification. So does that mean that they just have to verify that
Yep.
it's like up to their standards?
Yes,
or-
so if we're
okay.
buying a boiler, we're buying a boiler, because that's
Got
what we
it.
said we were using the money for.
Got it.
And that we're not buying something that's not going to last for
Like
a couple of
fun
years.
cruise or something.
Yeah.
Got it. All right, thank you.
All right, are there any other questions about the lease options that you see in front of you? All right, we'll vote on that when we get down to that
Okay.
section. Okay. Let's talk about, there was wanted to talk about an employee longevity
Sure.
program. So, this was something that I am not aware that we have.
Mhm.
And I had started to put together some thoughts on how we can kind of celebrate our staff in the Brookline School District for their longevity. And when I kind of shared that with this group and then with Gina told me that we have something in place.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what you've got in
Yeah.
place?
So I
Because
did actually know about that, cause I went last
I
year to the
didn't,
opening
yeah.
day. It's, you would have, yeah, I didn't know about it until I went. to the
Right,
opening
so
day.
I'm curious what it is, and then, I wanna talk about it and see if maybe.
Okay, so,
what is it?
so at our opening of school convocation, which the board is invited to every year, it's that Monday before school starts.
Yep.
And everyone meets at the high school, and we go into the auditorium, and the superintendent has an opening, a welcome, and then there's an employee recognition program. So what's important about this at the SAU level is that some of our folks maybe start in the Brookline School District and then go to co-op, or vice versa, or any of the changes that possibly can be made, or they maybe start off as a para and then become a teacher. And so your collective bargaining agreement won't necessarily recognize the years of service as a support staff member in the professional staff contract. So what we do is we recognize your total number of consecutive years of service to the district
Okay.
in 5-year increments. And so we recognize them. Some employees don't like to be recognized, and so they ask, am I up? Because I'm not coming. But we bring them up to the front. We present them with a nice plaque
We saw
and a
that.
gift certificate. And everyone is in that mad race to beat Mr. Fox at the high school, who's approaching 55 years of service, the same building, the same school, the high school. So people have a while to go to catch up. But it's great, and it's nice when you get to see a colleague from another school that you might not know them as well, and so then they can cheer for each other, and it's an exciting day.
And so it happens at the SAU level, not just.
Correct.
That's
Yeah.
nice, because then
Yeah.
again, we have that consistency, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Is there, so, Allison, you did a great job.
Thanks, I really liked my
Yeah.
efforts, because I didn't
This
know,
is
but.
good though, to know.
but-
This is a
but
good
I was-
learning experience.
I also did that from the purview of, I know that of the 3 school districts, right? We don't have benefits for our paras, so I was trying to find ways to celebrate them if they hang with us, because we do deeply appreciate them. And then the same thing with our teachers too, right? Like, we know that it's not even keeled, and so that's why, like, I have some longevity bonuses in there, like, trying to
Yeah.
talk through how, I guess it would probably be stepping on toes if we asked you to do one just for Brookline.
Well, I think in the individual schools, you do something to recognize individuals in your building. Also, what's great from the school board is on the opening Tuesday usually, it varies, but Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, the school board hosts a luncheon for all staff, and that is,
I got it covered.
and that is
We do,
very much
yes.
appreciated
Is
by
it?
the,
Okay.
by the staff.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're doing enough to recognize and honor our staff, especially, and I was thinking about this too from the purview, and I want you guys to know where it's coming from, is we have a lot of change happening into this coming year, and I want to just make sure kind of from all angles, our staff feels supported and recognized and honored, because they are. So I wanted to talk about if there's maybe more we want to do at the CSDA and RMS level, and if we were to do that, is it, now that I know that there's an SAU program, is it gonna upset? I don't necessarily don't wanna, well, I wanna honor our teachers, I also don't wanna like rock the ship elsewhere, so I wanted to talk about that in conjunction with, and it says community groups here, and I don't know how to word this, but really kind of maybe finding some time to, one or two of us to, even if appropriate, have listening sessions or just kind of open door. I know teachers can come and talk to us here, right, as a school board, but making sure that we're providing outlets throughout this year of change, because it is, right? We have a year of change and growth happening with a lot of leadership changes, and just want to make sure that we have a forum for
Yeah,
multiple paths, right? To make sure people feel heard or supported or feel comfortable raising anything in this kind of time. So
Changing times, yeah. And so I would say, just in terms of employee and board communications, we do have a policy that outlines the appropriate methodology of communication. So we could take a look at that, and
Yeah,
maybe
let's
we want to
do
revise
that.
it, I'm not sure, but
Okay.
certainly that, I can refer that to the policy committee after July 1.
Cool.
When I'm no longer on the policy committee.
So
No,
Hannah, put that on your radar.
You send me the policies.
No, but we,
I would like to.
We can take a look at that, but I think what we could also do is not necessarily a full-blown, oh my goodness, what was the survey that we did twice?
Oh, the
Climate.
The
Oh,
climate
climate.
survey, but really just do like a check-in of
Yeah.
how things are going, and some, so it's less formal, just providing that opportunity for communication that's
I
in
think
a,
that would be
in a
interesting, 'cause
channel.
I think I mentioned this last year too, when we had the results from the climate survey, that like we had all the numbers, which is great, but I didn't see that we had a lot of the like reasoning behind, and I think that would be a good opportunity. Because the numbers are great and they're very important and they give us a lot of information. Equally, I feel like the reasoning behind, like, why are you saying this? Like,
Commentary
what's-
is
Yeah,
good.
like the
Yeah.
commentary. I do a lot of qualitative research, so I'm happy to sit and listen to people talk, that's fine. But I just think that is something that we maybe should do more of, because it gives them an opportunity to really express an opinion that you can't kind of do on like a yes or no.
Would that kind of survey, this is where, I should know this, but I don't. Appropriate coming from admin level team, something we can put together and then ask you to put out? What is that?
Yeah, I think it
what might
depends
that
on
look like?
the content of the
Yeah.
survey, certainly. But we can just continue the conversation and see what makes sense as we move
Okay,
through.
because I don't know if maybe that's something not to
No, I can write it.
volunteer the wellness and teacher support committee to do, but I do
like
just.
writing surveys, so it's.
I do just want to make sure, and I just want to make this clear, like, there's a lot of change. Change is not always easy. Change is good, right?
Yep.
But it can be tumultuous at times, and so I just want to make sure that we're regularly checking in and supporting with all of our staff, not just our teachers.
So, okay, sorry.
No, go ahead.
So maybe, and I don't know if we can, maybe this goes back to your policies. So, like, that I think is a good question, is like how the board would interact with the teachers directly. Because the only thing I would get a little nervous about is like, I kind of look to, Patricia and Dan to be like that intermediary, because I feel as though it's almost like if we kind of get too involved, then the teachers start coming to us directly.
Correct.
So I would just want to make sure that we are looking to you as leaders in your school to make sure that like what you need, you're telling us, and utilizing these surveys in an anonymous way so people feel comfortable. But to your point, if if there's guidance needed. But I think that's where I would start with them. This is my thought, right? Because as things are happening, you're going to be the first ones hearing it, and that's where you can say, hey, maybe like red flag, like I think we need to be, thinking of this, or here's how, like, you can support us. Just a thought, just to make sure that we're not, again, creating any type of going around them. They have to.
Agreed.
We have to support them as the leaders, that's all.
Can I just jump in?
Yeah, please.
I do value the feedback that the staff shared in the surveys. I will say, though, I think we have other mechanisms to get that feedback. So, for instance, we have a wonderful mentor program, and in the mentor program, the new staff have a mentor that they go to with a concern. If there's really that big of a concern, they bring it to admin. We have goal meetings with our staff. So when there's things that come up, we meet with them several times throughout the year. We also have the Brookline Teachers Union. So if there's something concerning, staff have the opportunity to go to the union. So I feel like we have multiple mechanisms. I also think the timing of the survey, if we're going to do a survey, needs to be thoughtfully put out too, because I think in years past, we've put it around March timeframe. And March is a tough month. And it's, it's between that stretch. So I think there's multiple mechanisms. I personally I haven't seen the survey results, so I don't know what they look like, other than the year that Gina presented. But I feel like we've got a good pulse of our staff, and if there's a concern, they bring it up at staff meetings. If they don't feel comfortable, they have something to go to. But I also don't want to, if that's not accurate, I don't want to say we don't do a survey. I just feel like we have things in place. I mean, I don't know.
Right, and I think it's really important that everyone recognize also that Dan and I and the other administrators meet with the union presidents, and president and vice president, on a monthly basis. So if there is something, that's our direct communication, and not that they wouldn't bring it to us sooner, but at least then we can, revisit things like, all right, we've made these changes or improvements, we've heard the concerns, have we addressed them thoroughly? So there is that communication that, Dan was referring to. But I do agree with you in the sense that it is important that if, we need to make sure that we're welcoming our staff and that they feel confident that they can come to us. And Dan also mentioned about the mentoring program, and I know that was a question, at the beginning of last year even, what type of mentoring program do we have in the district? And it's definitely evolved over the past 5 years since I've been here. And I just actually responded to one of the members that is kind of helping to oversee it. And one of the statements I said that we made changes to this year was that the principals would take turns going each month to a mentoring meeting where we would actually meet with the building mentor, and then the mentees and mentors, and mentors on a monthly basis, and would talk about different topics. And in my response to her, I said, I really like that because it gave the opportunity for the new teachers to see us as administrators interacting with the experienced teachers as well. So that kind of will get, that we have a good connection with them, that we can be happy and jovial and, but have important conversations, but at a relaxed environment. And I think that was important for the new teachers to see that, so that, that they know that they can come to us easily as well.
But I do want to say really quick, I just want to say one quick thing. I totally support you and what you're trying to accomplish, because it's so incredibly important that we make our teachers feel valued, right? So just making sure that obviously you both know that we're here to support and to think outside the box if we get there. Well, we want to do that.
And I know you guys have a great relationship with your staff. Like, I get, and I understand the multiple mechanisms. I think I'm looking at it more in the windshield of new superintendent. While we know her, it's a new role. So some relationships there could shift a little bit, right? Because that happens with change. Outgoing, incoming new principal. We heard a couple of resignations tonight too from there. So there's some changes, and I just want us to make sure we're supporting our whole staff, right? And it's not just teachers either, right? It's everybody in both of our buildings, and I want to make sure that everybody feels during the time that they are, and even if it is just a small, maybe it's another mid-year lunch, just as a thank you or something, you know what I mean? Like, maybe just some other extra, if we're not, right?
Yep.
I mean, I just want to make sure that we have a year of, support and celebration through the changes, because there's gonna be a lot of relationship building that's gonna happen, and not overnight does everybody connect with the
Right.
new faces in the building, and so some people may not feel like they have an outlet.
Yep.
And what I don't wanna have happen is, I don't want the union to all of a sudden have to come and say, well, we got here, well, why didn't we proactively try to be mindful and aware and keep our finger on the pulse, because you guys have your fingers on the pulse, but you're not gonna be a team anymore. You have a new team, right? And
Yeah.
so that's where this is coming from. It's not anything critical at all, because I appreciate everything you guys have done. And I hope I'm expressing that properly. It's more, I'm just trying to think, okay, through this next year, what are there things that we can do differently to celebrate our teachers, to make sure that they're supported, and staff, right? Through this, just to help us get over all of the changing winds.
I know Tracy
so to
needs
speak.
to talk.
Yes, she does.
Okay. No, it's okay. I just, so that was a lot to unpack, but really quickly, I am thinking, I think to Allison's point, if there are new relationships being built, or there are other things that, sometimes staff might, or administration might not feel comfortable talking to each other about, if we do have that outside person or mechanism, I think one of the things we had talked about with the other survey was, I think to Dan's point, there wasn't a ton of, I don't think we had a ton of responses. And I think part of it was maybe the timing, because it was handed out at a staff meeting, but maybe people didn't want to be seen putting it in, so I do kind of see the optics around that. The other thing that I just wanted to also say was the PTO is such a great partner to us and so great to us. Around the teacher and staff recognition, is there something we can do as the school board to maybe partner with them, or, just kind of get that scale, so that we could do more in recognition of them?
So I'm glad you brought that up. I wanted to just raise a couple points. So with the PTO, I think that's a great idea, and I was going to share earlier that I don't think the school board knows this, but I think almost monthly they do an event at both buildings for our staff. So I think that goes back to like Allison's point, like how do we recognize them? So the PTO's done a great job. You all do the luncheon at the opening day. So, but maybe there's a partnership with the PTO. Maybe it's every other month, or maybe it's quarterly, whatever it is. That might be, that way you feel like you're involved there. The other thing is, I don't want to not say that the surveys aren't valuable, but I do feel, and this is just my personal opinion, I feel like a work session would be better. If we really want to hear how people are feeling, I think it needs to be more collaborative, because my concern with the survey is, we talked about it at a staff meeting, said there's surveys available. We put them in the staff room for staff to take. There was a box. And with that, I also questioned the validity of it, because anybody in the building could get one, fill it out.
Right.
Someone could get one and forgot they even did it, because we had it open for a month.
And then do it again.
They did it again. So I think the validity of it,
Yep.
I do feel like a work session, whether we did like a jigsaw, and people went around and discussed a different, maybe some essential topics or questions, I think that brings along collaborative nature. I think it brings along, it gives the chance for the teachers to see school board's face or work with the admin to discuss things as a team rather than a survey. So, I mean, I'd be more in favor of like a mid-year check-in, or, that's just my personal thought, but I've seen it done before and it's been very helpful. So I just want to throw that as an
I
option.
100% agree with doing a voice. It just, my background is in sociology and statistics and things, and you get a better depth of problem. Like with a survey, right? Someone says, I have an issue with how something's being handled, but you don't really understand. Like, you can't ask a following question. There's no, it's just, there's an issue. We don't really understand the depth of it. We don't understand the reasonings behind it. We don't understand if it's just that person's perspective. So like 100%, I think, a workshop or a voice to voice Makes a lot more sense.
So we can kind of keep that on our radar.
Yeah,
for-
and I appreciate all of what you guys are saying, because we don't want to, I know I don't want to step on toes. At the same time, I would like to avoid what we kind of had happen last year, where I felt, just personally as a board, we got hit with all these resignations, and I was like, but we just were, like, the survey said things were fine, and then things are not fine because all these people just left. So for me, that's where I would like to, like, I love your idea, Dan, of just having that session, and whether we're there or not, that's, I think, it's like whatever the teachers feel comfortable with. But the stuff, I would just like us to have more of an opportunity where we're not overstepping our bounds as the board, but we do have our thumb a little bit more on the pulse, just so that we can be aware of, like, what's coming, what shifts are coming, and if there's anything we can do in our governance role to help that aspect.
The other thing I wanted to mention about the resignations is we definitely lost some staff that have been so instrumental in the, Brookline School District. But the other thing I think we forget is that we've had staff resign, but then 2 years later, they come back.
Yeah.
So we think about, we had resignations, and there was a year we had a ton, but several of those people are now working back in our buildings.
Yeah.
So I think we purely look at the numbers, but we're not looking at back like, there's a return. And I think we need to remember that too, because
Yeah.
yes, we've lost people, they've gone somewhere else and they found out, you know what, I want to be back here. So I think that's
That's a great perspective.
I think that's
So
important to remember too. But-
No, I agree. So it's something we can keep thinking about, but I just, to that point, I love hospitality as much as the next person. Like, I will shop for anything, but I think at the end of the day, we also just want to stay in our lane of governance and not overstep too. So I just want to make sure I have balance there.
One last thing. And again, maybe just an idea, because I won't be here, but one of the things that we, Dan and I have done is that we've had a combined staff meeting in the month of December. We figure that's a good check-in for us, but it's also, it kind of, we would have specific things that we would talk about first, and then we'd have a couple of games, again, collaboration, get with, sit at different tables with different people, or we'd have a couple of topics that we would review. And we got great feedback for a few things that we wanted to know. But at the same time, they got to communicate with people that they don't necessarily get to see all the time, or they don't get to see from RMMS, or they may have, they've switched buildings or whatever. And then I know I put together trays, I'm kind of like you. I like to do the trays of cookies and, and things like that. But they just loved it. It just changes the environment of what the meeting looked like, from the normal month to month. So, I mean, that might be
Beginning,
it.
mid, and end of the year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so we
do,
try to
yeah.
do that. So maybe that would be a good time of the year too.
Just some thoughts, and just wanted to put that out there, and, just, again, trying to make sure that we can support however we can, and as much as we can,
Thank you.
Anything else on that topic? All right, before we keep going though, I'm gonna officially close, public input here at 7:36, because otherwise I'm gonna forget to close it. It's been open, so.
Well, doesn't it technically close when you leave anyway?
Yeah, but I'm gonna technically close it anyways, that's right. Okay, we have two more things for discussion, board priorities for this upcoming year, and then our August meeting date. So let's start with the board priorities. I think this is a good time to, and we may not settle on, a particular focus or anything tonight, but, in the past, the board priorities have been to, institute an SEL program and to help stand that up and to really, support our schools in that vein. And I know there've been a couple of emails, you guys don't know about it, just kind of broad, just, hey, think about what
And don't reply
us as a
all.
board, don't reply all, what our
I've
board
seen
would
don't
like.
reply all.
BCC is our friend.
Yeah, what we would like to see as priorities for this year. So I know I was asked that question directly. I know personally for me, I just want to ensure that we're in a contract year, and so biggest priority is making sure that we are meeting the needs of our staff in both contracts without destroying our budget. And so that for me is like the biggest priority. But I would love to hear what some other people have, and if we want to choose one or two things that we can really kind of focus on to work towards or around for the upcoming year. So I'll just kind of open the floor.
So, one thing that I would like to work on, in addition to the budgets and contracts, is community involvement, because I do feel like that was feedback that we got at deliberative last year. That's feedback that we get quite frequently, which is how is the community involved? We've made really good strides. I feel like Parent Square has actually been very good this year in terms of like getting the word out and like, you know, people I know like being able to pay for field trips and things like that on Parent Square has been great. So I think we're moving in the right direction, but I would maybe like, us as a board, like, especially around the budgets and because we have contracts this year, like how can we kind of increase that education piece to the community so they do feel like they have information?
So like from a communication standpoint,
Yes.
right? So
Like, yeah, like how are we communicating? So like, I was actually really impressed with the Hollis board when they did that educational night around like this, I think last year for one of their warrant articles, they had like a Q&A. Am I remembering this right? Yeah. It was like.
The enrollment committee, yep.
Yes. And so they kind of had a Q&A about where people could come and ask questions and kind of get the plan, like hear from one board member, and I think it was Paula, who was the principal, who was there. So maybe considering something like that, not to put that extra strain on anybody, but just more like, I just feel like we heard that a lot at Deliberative this year, which is like, how come we didn't talk about this, or I didn't know about this, and all we can do is present the information, we can't make people read it, but I feel like we could maybe do a little bit better with how we're educating.
Yeah,
So that would
no.
be a priority.
That always feels like a struggle. I think, you know, this is going into my third year, and I feel like we have the superintendent's newsletter, and we have, you know, other mechanisms, and we thought, oh, do we, you know, put things up in the library, or what can we post on Facebook? You know, kind of, Johanna, I think you did a
I
couple,
do
like,
the
this is,
events,
yeah.
Educational information.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm wondering. In the past, we've done things like try to explain warrant articles in writing. Is writing the best form? Could we, be silly and do, not silly, but could we do videos where we do a 1 minute video on each warrant article? Just something, I think to Joanna's point too, I've heard that we don't socialize our priorities or our warrant articals in a timely enough manner. So if we could think out of the box a little bit and ways to communicate.
And I especially think this year is going to be so important with the contracts. We really, because if you think a couple of years ago when the co-op did their contracts again, I felt like I knew everything I needed to know going in because there was a lot of education around it. So knowing that we're, you know, depending on what our contracts look like and with our budget cap, I would just love to make sure, like, that we have done everything we can to put that information out to the public. Like I said, we can't make them read it, but we could do a good job of like making sure that we're putting that information out there so that they do understand why we ask for things in contracts and things like that.
Could we do like a monthly at the library, meet a school board member?
maybe.
Like office
You know?
hours?
Yeah, office
Yeah.
hours, you know, like, or,
It's in my office.
yeah, no, but seriously, like.
Maybe it's like
and it might-
Nook time or something.
Yeah,
so
whatever.
we-
Like, I mean, I don't mind sitting somewhere. I
Right.
certainly have done it before, like in my other job, and like, you know, where I'll just sit and like come talk to me and ask questions, and like, if I don't have the answer, I'll find it for you. But you know, one of those types of things where it's at a neutral location, like the library or, you know, town hall or the fire station or whatever, and you know, you can come
Yeah.
and just chat, and like, maybe it's not necessarily we have all the answers, but I can get the input from
And bring it back to you.
from the community or from the teachers or from whatever, from the staff, whatever it is, but I'm here
Yeah.
for 2 hours on every third Wednesday or whatever,
We-
whatever it might
Yeah,
be.
we have done, I think, a much better job communicating with our school communities within the town. I think really we need to look at the rest of the town who don't have children in our schools,
Mhm.
because we ask them to support our
Or
schools.
who
at-
have kids in co-op, right, and not necessarily in these districts that are still being asked to come and vote on K through pre-K.
Correct. Well, so anybody who doesn't have a child in the Brookline school district, right, but is still in town, is still funding the Brookline schools, right? Our communications to them, I think, need to be better, and I think especially in this year where we're going to face challenges, like with the tax cap and everything else. So I think finding ways to communicate, I think that sounds like that would be a really good focus for our group.
Yeah, I will share that our Diligent, one of the reasons why we did shift is there is a subscribe feature
Okay.
that's not fully set up. And so members of the community can subscribe to maybe Brookline School District. And so whenever we post an agenda or documents, they get an email alert. Maybe they want to do co-op and Brookline, you know, or maybe they only want Brookline.
So that's something then, if we got that set up, I mean, the superintendents do a newsletter.
Well, I
And-
could
and-
put that on Facebook
well,
too, it's just like a.
Hang on, so and this is where I'd be interested in talking in August, the school board association, like, appropriate, inappropriate to do a school board news communication letter, so like, when we get into having to explain, like, warrant articles and whatnot, like, we have a mechanism to do that? I
So
don't
that
know
would
if that's
not be
allowed.
appropriate, but we do
Okay.
have the voter's guide that we put out every year.
Okay.
And the voter's guide, so what,
You could subscribe
as
to
a,
that.
if you have a child in Brookline schools, I'm gonna send you Brookline and co-op. If
Yes.
you have a child only in co-op, I'm gonna send you co-op and the other district that you live in, regardless if you have children.
Right.
But it's getting that out to the community,
To the-
but this
yeah.
would be a method to get that
Okay.
same content
So
out.
then we could maybe talk to the town administrator too, and if there's that link on Diligent where you can subscribe, we can get that subscribe link onto maybe
Yep.
the town website?
Yeah.
So that, cause like I know I sign up for every thing on the town's website.
Well, and that's something
so-
that I think would be helpful
too.
to just put out on the Facebook groups, like, just for informational purposes, there is a subscribe feature on
Yeah.
Diligent,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is the website,
exactly.
like,
Okay.
I've done that, and that seems to have gone okay,
Yep.
as long as I'm very clear that it's like, this
Mhm.
is, but I think, yes, I think that would be helpful. I also think us having more input would be helpful for us to just know, like, because if we do, like, say, meet a school board member and we sit there for 2 hours and no one shows up, that gives us information too,
does.
to feedback, to kind of, so that when we are kind of hearing those questions, like, well, why didn't you tell us? We can be like, we have been sitting with the library for 2 hours every third Wednesday. This is, we have advertised, like, that gives us information too on, well, we're hearing there's an appetite for more communication. We've increased communication. No one's coming.
Right.
Where is the disconnect
Sure.
or that
But
kind of
we
thing?
need to increase communication, so I think
No,
that's
I
a good
agree.
goal,
That
I think
is-
that's a good, if you guys are good, I think that's a good goal for us this year, to do that. Not totally in my lane, but from an academic standpoint, in supporting our kids, I would also like to explore, more enrichment and acceleration programs for our students. We've done a lot, and we've done a really heavy lift with getting our kids where they need to be if they are, if they're needing some extra supports. What I'd really like to see, over the next couple of years is our kids who are where they need to be, how do we push them? How do we challenge them more on a more regular basis? For example, I know we have I think they call it advanced math at CSDA.
Accelerated. yeah.
Accelerated math.
For grade 6.
But there, it is for grade 6, and you
Yeah.
have to meet a very specific criteria. It's not just the child who is where they need to be, right? What can we do for that middle group of the kids who are where they need to be? How can we further enrich, enhance, accelerate that population? So, because we have something in place for the kids who are beyond where they need to be and really pushing them, we have supports for the kids who need some extra love, and then but what about that middle group? So, not necessarily, I think, for anything for us to say, oh, go do this, but I'd like to get it on our radars and find ways that we can maybe over the next couple of years push that. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but, and then whatever we can do to support
Sounds good.
you guys
I
too,
think
that would be
would-
wonderful.
Can I just ask, how does the accelerated math program work? So if they're doing 6th and 7th grade, is that a teacher at CSDA that teaches it? Do they
Yes.
go-
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know in other districts that I've been in, like, sometimes kids will go to the middle school for a class, and they don't do that here. Okay, so it's just, so who teaches it at CSDA?
Karen Pillion.
Okay, all right,
The
so
math
she's one of the math
specialist.
specialists, okay. And so it's kind of like a smaller, like, do they get pulled from class times, or like, how does that?
So they go to math with her instead of math with their teacher.
Oh, okay, so they would only go to math with her during their math time, they would do
Correct.
this, okay,
Yep.
okay. So I think if we could build it into that similar, because I would also want to try and avoid, like, yes, we want to do that, but we also don't want to take them too much out of the classroom. Like, we would want to try and balance that, I think.
Well, yeah, that's where I would leave it to it.
Yeah, in our June.
So that's where I just love
That's-
the idea.
That's, I love
In our-
the idea.
In our June presentation, we have a FY '27 budget focus area, so we can add, like that, for example, we can add that as a, just so we don't lose sight of it. So
That would be
I
great.
added that.
Yeah, that would be great, because I do know, if I remember correctly, it was the board who kind of set that standard for the accelerated math and like the very kind of strict standard to get in to that program, and so maybe it's time to revisit either that or expanding that.
So the
right?
that was a K to 12 math committee
Okay,
that did a full year of research developing that,
Okay.
put that into place, and then when that first cohort became juniors, there was a full math review again to evaluate our students where they were in the different ages and stages, and specifically Algebra 1, because we teach that in 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, and 10th grade. Looking at those students, they were all given the same prompt and figuring out like what skills are they using to tackle those problems, why are they going about it, is it helpful to teach physical science at the same time of taking, like just looking at it from all angles, and figuring out the criteria. Was that the best criteria? Does it hold true? Alternate pathways, are they valid? Are they proving to be successful or unsuccessful for those kiddos? So we did that 2 years ago, and came up with some new recommendations, and I think we're in a decent place, but we have a new assistant superintendent coming in, so evaluate all you want.
So one thing that I know we talked about before, Jenny, you had mentioned was the possibility too of us possibly looking at a facilities committee to kind of keep track. Is that something that, yes, I was like, say Tracy, I know that was, is that something that people?
That's on my list
Okay.
of committees.
Okay.
Yep, so once we get a lease purchase agreement moving, then we'll need to continue to meet or start to meet as a committee, to start to look at the project we have in place, and then expand beyond that, what are our next projects, because we certainly know that there are additional ones
Okay.
on the horizon.
So, sorry, one of my priorities, if I can jump in, is kind of around physical infrastructure. I just love it, and I don't know why, but so in terms of like committees and things, to Johanna's point, I think I'm going to be on facilities and capital improvement and renovation and a couple others.
You get them all, 'cause you love them.
I do. I don't know. I guess I come from a construction family, so it's in my DNA. So I would really love to have that be one of either our priorities or something that is kind of assigned out as a priority. One of the other things I just love is board management, or like putting a good, go
No,
ahead.
I know where you're going with
Yes.
this. And so that one, though, I do want to table until we have the
Yeah.
school board association here to guide us on appropriate ways of working, because we need better historical documentation. And if committees are working, we want to be able to access and see files, is where you're headed with that, right?
Yeah, well, I think it is an overall management thing too, like what is our onboarding program? Like formalize, like we have really great resources and we do so much. But one of the things I love is pulling it all together and making it formal. And so like, can we do an onboarding program that's written out? Like, can we do a handbook?
For board members?
Yeah.
Is there something like that already?
I didn't.
I don't,
Yeah, we
Well,
we can talk about it. We onboard. There is a book that we used to buy for our board members, but now there's the online training. It just seems like it was an expense to buy everyone a book.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they were all read cover to cover. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a great thing to continue to formalize. What Ann and I've been doing, just so that it's known and set, and so we can ensure that we're saying the same things.
Yeah, and one other thing is just to really, and like Allison said, we'll talk more about it in August, but, policies around board function. And also, I also love a strategic plan. So, just to look at that maybe every August before we start the school year.
Is that when we look at it?
Yeah, we do our opening of
Our
school
goals,
goals. Yeah, and that's based on the
That's a
strategic
line, but we
plan.
can look at it, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, the June meeting, we're gonna
Do
do
the
a
close at the
review
end,
of
yeah.
that one, right?
Yeah, to see
When
how we did.
Meet with the school board, like the professional development day. Will that also kind of give us some guidance? One of the things I'm still struggling with, and it's probably just because I'm a brand new board member, is like, kind of like, what is our intent? What is our role? What are we really doing here, right? Like, I love some of these, I love the idea of doing more for our teachers, but I want to make sure, again, that we're not overstepping, and that if we've already got tools in place, let's not waste our time, right? So I think one of the things it would be interesting to hear is, and if I don't know if they'll do this, and if it's not, maybe I'll have to think of something else, but like what is our role? Like, where does it start? Where does it end? So that we're just making sure, because I think to your point, Tracy, that's going to help guide us. That's going to help us figure out, like, like, is facilities, is that what the school board's supposed to do? Right? And if it's not, you know, like, let's just make sure that we're getting the biggest bang for our buck. And I
Yep.
know we have a lot of a lot of committees, and I'm not saying, please no, I'm coming into this, like, I'm trying, you know, I wanna just listen. It just makes me sometimes nervous to see that many, because we have like, and we're combining them, and that's great, but it just makes me a little nervous because, you know, what do we want to accomplish? And sometimes, like, when you're going into a role and there's so many different things happening at the same time, it's harder to accomplish what we need
Yep.
to. That's all.
Yep.
And so I just want to make sure that it would be helpful to me just to make sure that, and going back to the orientation, to kind of have it outlined, like, what is our role? Obviously, I know it's the superintendent exit interview, got it, all right, but that's an easy one, but then kind of, you know, again, where does I can understand that sometimes it's not black and white, and, you know, kind of, again, we're here to support, but like, where does it end, so that we're, again, not overstepping you, that we're here to get done what we're put in place for.
Okay, so, a couple things with that. I want to dive into this in our August meeting when we have the School Board Association here,
Sounds
because
good.
I think that they will be able to, not so black and white, be pretty clear, right? So, there's a lot that we've talked about and to unpack, and so I think, just kind of backing up a little bit, we're gonna focus on communication this year. We've put it out there about some student enrichment acceleration for future, which is good. I think we're all in agreement with communications. I think anything beyond that, I hear what you're saying about what's our role. I know we've had some conversations about that too. So let me segue that way into our August meeting date conversation,
great.
because I think that this would be a very healthy conversation when we have them here, because there really are three main buckets that the school board, you know, works in and helps to oversee and guide and support. And so I think diving into, you know, the hire and then manage, for lack of a better word, the superintendent, who then goes and does all the running of the schools, right? We work with the budget and we work on policy, and those are our three buckets, right? So communication, I think, as a priority is a great one, because budgeting, policy, some of the policy work that's going on at the state level that's going to find its way into our community, we're going to want to communicate things on, right? So I think that's a good strategical. I think some of the, or not strategical, but board priority for this year is good. I think some of the other things like board management onboarding, I think formalizing that process is not a bad idea. But instead of recreating the wheel, I think it would be good to have that conversation with New Hampshire School Board Association, because they may have something already kind of developed. Like, you sent a really nice checklist and everything, and so I think just kind of crossing your T's and dotting our I's in alignment with what they've got is not a bad, I think it's a good thing. So I'm kind of, if you guys are okay with that, I'd like to table that until the August
I do
the
want to
August
say one
meeting.
thing about Tracy's checklist, though, is the tour of the schools is definitely a good idea, because at least even just from a facility standpoint, really helped me understand, like, Dan took and showed me all the boilers, and Patricia showed me the like, so
Yeah.
that way when people are asking me questions about it, I can be like, no, I have seen, like, why do we have 9 boilers in this school?
So it just sounds like we
Right.
incorporate,
Right.
Like, I
we
need to, like-
incorporate anything
Yeah.
that's missing, right,
Right,
into.
and so I'd like to see if they have anything formalized and anything that we have, because Tracy's list is good, right? So I think then maybe working to combine the two, but still making sure we're not in a gray area, I think is a good thing. Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
can we have a mechanism for that August meeting to send questions? Like, could that go to you, or just topics that, I don't know if
Google
it's.
form, maybe, if we
like-
set up a Google form, would that work?
No, just send me the questions directly. Just email me the questions, I'll collect them all, because we cannot all work on the same. Oh, you said Google form, like to submit questions, just email them to me.
Yeah, no, I
We don't
was
need to be-
just trying.
We don't need to be that
Easier
formal,
for
but
you.
thank you. No, just if you've got questions ahead
Okay.
of like what that looks like. So then that brings me, the question was raised about the August meeting date, which is the day before school starts.
It's a tough one.
Listen, if you want me to
Well-
sit here and cry through this meeting, we can do that, but that's,
It's your what?
That's my daughter's college moving day.
I love that.
my daughter's going to kindergarten, so I'm gonna sit here and cry most of that night, so I
Mine's
don't
going
think
to
that
first grade.
we should have that.
That's why we do orientation the day before.
You're gonna love,
I'm gonna cry
you're
there.
gonna love the orientation. So,
I'm gonna cry all the time.
so, kind of bring us back together here, because of the importance of the conversation we're having school board association come in, which I already have scheduled, but they seem pretty flexible, hopefully.
What day did you schedule it? Did you
Our
schedule
board
it?
meeting,
27th.
on the 27th for our board meeting. Are we hard pressed? I mean, who could absolutely not come or does not want to come, like, for,
I can come on the 27th. The only time that I can't come is the week of the 4th through the August, like earlier in the month, just because I'm gonna be in Denver.
I wasn't, originally I was looking for an earlier meeting in June. August, their schedules get crazy because
Right.
Gina, if we're gonna have this conversation, at minimum, I want Gina there with us, with the school board association. So,
So we're not looking to move it up in August.
I'm trying to not add more to our plate, and so the question is, can you guys all come on the 27th?
I
Is
can
there,
come.
is there really a hard pressed issue with it being the night before school?
I can come on the 27th.
I mean, I remember last year it was a lot to be away, you know, and then like go home and try to manage the kids for their first day. Personally, I would rather not.
Do you know you have
but-
to individually label every pencil?
Do you know?
Yeah, that was not.
Dan,
Do you-
So
I
let's
do
just
that
give an
in-
exception for all the school board members.
I tried that. It didn't work.
An extension.
I tried
Yeah,
that.
an extension.
Kindergarten teachers are
Yeah.
tough. I had to label every crayon too.
Sorry, I-
It was awesome.
No,
I-
I'm joking. But
There's a
also-
little baby, I'll send you a label maker.
I
It's
have a
amazing.
label maker.
No, it's perfect for crayons. It's like the perfect
can you
size.
send that to me?
I'll send that to you. Oh, it's an amazing little machine. I
But
love
that's
it.
why you buy your supplies in July.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't worry. I have
Start now.
That's right.
Look at the supply list now.
And honestly, have your kiddo help you do it. Mine
Oh, God,
had,
she-
they had a blast.
Mine would be taking in
Until they
Just
didn't all
order
line up, they
engraved.
maybe started peeling them off.
Ashley would
so-
label herself, she would label the cat, she would label.
I know. Okay, back to meeting date. It's really important that all of us are here to meet with the school board association. If I have to move it, I'll move it
Gina,
But-
when are you moving your daughter in?
in.
I am,
Because Lauren, I assume you're not gonna be.
She's
in
not
this
letting her
one.
I won't be
go.
here the 25th.
no, I'm in Arizona August 19th through the 24th. So
Okay, so really
the
the
week of the
27th
25th, I'm here.
Works best for you.
But if
So
it
I
could
know-
be, can it be a day other than Wednesday? Like, it could
Yeah,
be a
I'm
day
saying
other
I
than Wednesday,
could
just so you know,
do
it could
yeah,
be
you
not
could
a
do
Wednesday.
I can do any night that
You
week.
could do 20 the
I could do the 26th, yeah.
I could do the
Can you do the
26th.
26th? Mm-hmm. Can you do the 26th? Can you do the, okay. Do I need to make a motion to move
No.
our school board date in August to the 26th?
No, we just move it.
Done, we're moving it to the
Thank you.
26th.
Okay.
Fine, I will make
My
that work with
anxiety
my
has
life.
gone down.
You wanna come?
And then I need to remember to email the school board, or the school association, so
I'll send you a
move
photo.
to the
So you're gonna
26th.
email them?
I'll email
Okay,
them and
thank
I'll,
you.
hopefully
I'll
they
still be
can
up
come.
labeling
Hopefully
pencils.
this is far enough.
we still have
Really,
June.
we have to label everything individually.
Change it again.
To change it if
I
we need to.
think it's very
Okay.
teacher preference.
All right, it is
Yes.
the 26th, it is the 26th, unless I reach out to school board association, they say they can't come, in which case we'll revisit this conversation
Better.
in June.
Okay.
All right,
Wait, Dan, does that work for you? The 26th?
Oh, that's
Either
right.
day works. I think it's great. I think that's great. You guys can label pencils on the 27th. Good.
that's what I'm saying,
I'll still be up at 2 a.m.
No, I think it's good. No, I
We
think
may
it's a
wanna
great move.
paste the
I think it's a great
pencil
move.
labeling for the summer.
I feel like I'm just gonna not label and.
Oh my gosh, every crayon, every
I
pencil.
don't remember. I'm not sure.
Well,
Okay.
listen, you're,
Talk to the
we're always in the
Depends on
same,
the teacher.
we're always in the same class.
I think
so,
I did it
probably
forever.
like,
That's who
no,
I
he's
did
off
it
the
for.
hook.
I mean, I have only done it one time, but I remember laughing, going, every crayon? Like,
All right,
every
everyone.
we still have quite an agenda, so
Sorry.
I wanna keep going.
Sorry.
We have a standing, I'm just gonna open the floor, are there any updates from any of our committees? The teacher negotiation team is kicking off next week,
I'll update on policy when we get to policy.
great,
but
that,
it's-
well, yeah. Anything else from anybody? Okay.
I mean, you already heard my exciting update on that.
Fabulous. All right, next. We're gonna get into deliberations at this point. We need to see what action the board will take regarding the leasing agent and energy conservation equipment at CSDA, related building improvements at CSDA and RMMS. I believe we wanna go with the
I'm gonna suggest we go with TD just because I think they have the lower
Yeah, I
interest
think that's
rate,
where we all
already
landed,
have the
right?
pre-establishing
Okay.
relation, like, I think it's gonna be easier.
So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna make a motion to approve the TD Equipment Finance Incorporated, TDEF, at the leasing agent for the 20-year lease purchase agreement to finance the acquisition and installation of energy conservation equipment, the CSDA boilers and LED lighting and controls at both schools, and related building improvements at Captain Samuel Douglas Academy and Richard Mahakian Memorial School in accordance with warrant Article 2, approved at the March 11, 2025 election at a tax-exempt interest rate of 4.31% as stated in the proposal.
That's a lot of words.
Do I have a second?
I'll second, I don't mind.
Fabulous. Any further conversation around this? Do I have to do that now, or I can just go straight to vote? Do I have to ask them for more conversation?
I mean, they can, if anybody wants
There's
to
no
say
more
anything.
conversation. All in favor? Fabulous. All right.
Leadership.
I am dictating, because it's past 8 o'clock. All right, to see what action the board will take regarding authorizing the superintendent-elect to hire, terminate, and accept resignations until August 2025 school board meeting. So what this is we don't typically have a meeting in July. There may be need to hire staff, if somebody all of a sudden resigns, whatever. Gina usually comes to us and we, like we did tonight, we accepted nominations. We are basically giving her approval to go ahead and just manage staff, hires, et cetera, until our August meeting.
And then we get updated.
Yeah, you can
She'll
update it,
update
just
us
so
on
that we
it.
don't lose a candidate.
Yeah.
Right, because we don't want to wait until we reconvene in August
And then they're like,
we-
no, I accepted the job.
somewhere else. So this is what this is what this is, just for everybody's awareness.
Yep.
Are there any questions about that? Okay, so I'll make a motion to authorize the superintendent-elect to hire, accept resignations, and terminate staff until the August school board meeting and require notification to the board of such actions, motions of such actions,
So this
period.
might seem like a pedantic question, I'll second that, but do we?
Thank you.
Because in July, you're gonna be the super, like.
Yep,
does
so
that have to-
co-op did superintendent-elect and superintendent.
Okay, I was gonna say, do we have to put a word in there for that? Because I just don't want it to then come back and be like, you said superintendent-elect,
Yeah.
and you don't have one in July.
Okay, I retract my motion. I am going to make a motion to authorize the superintendent-elect and the then superintendent to hire, accept resignations, and terminate staff until the August board meeting and require notification to the board of such actions.
Also.
Fabulous. All in favor?
Thank
Great.
you.
No problem. Was there another one from the,
The
she write
administrative
it in?
compensation.
yeah, do I actually have to figure this one out myself? Or did she put this in here? I figured this out myself, okay.
To support.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion to support the recommendations by the superintendent-elect for administrative and non-union compensation as presented to the board.
Does that cover, because I.
That covers everything.
Covers everything on that paper, yep.
Perfect. Okay, I just think, because I added that other category, so I
Yep.
just wanted to make sure we didn't need
Yep.
to say that.
I mean, Tracy will second. All in favor?
Thank you.
Fabulous. Thank you. Okay, now,
Policy.
policy. So I'm gonna turn this not over to me. Gina, is this you or is this,
Yeah, do we want to make a motion and then I suggest we make a motion to accept the whole memo and then we'll go through policy by policy.
yeah. So, that's this one, isn't it? So I'll make a motion to approve the recommendations of the Brookline School Board Policy Committee as per the memo provided as part of the agenda packet.
I'll second.
Fabulous. All right, let's start talking about these.
Okay, so we have 5 policies that are coming to you as third read and adopt without any changes. So they're the exact same that you saw last month. That includes public access to school district records. Just so you know, when we do have our policy committee, we look through the minutes of the previous meeting. And if anyone received feedback from any board members or community member, we discuss that as well. We received none, so,
Yes, and I got updated on what you guys had expressed, so.
yeah.
Okay.
We're also looking at EHR, Public Access to School District Record Procedure. So these are simply the procedures that are, that govern how you can get records. It is now required that we have this particular one board approved. We also have JLF, Reporting Child Abuse and Neglect. So this is really just following the law and our requirements. There are no proposed changes, so we're bringing it exactly the same. KFD, Use and location of automated external defibrillators. Once again, no changes from the April meeting. And then the fifth policy is IHBAB, special education evaluations, and this talks about procedures around outside evaluations. So those are presented for third read and adopt. We have a couple that are second read and adopt without any changes, and the reason we wanted to move them forward is we wanted them in place for the end of the year. One is that very long policy. It was just simply a change in the RSA related to how we handle federal grants. And so, certainly we follow the law. When we authorize Allison to sign the general assurances, she's saying that she is assuring that I'm going to follow the law. So this is just another component. Another piece of that is that we actually have DAF in place. So
I'm sorry, what's DAF?
DAF is this policy on federal grant management.
It's like 60 pages long.
Yes.
So we found the one part that had to change, and it's honestly, like, it seems like that part was fine. The rest of the 60 pages, like, I don't know that we have to read them if they're not changes. So
Yeah.
we've already all read them, and we went through them line by line, bless her. I would not have done it, so, yeah, I think there was no issue from my point of view.
Sorry, I just didn't know if DAF stood for something.
Yeah,
It's
no.
not an acronym, obviously. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And then we also have IGE, parental objections to specific course material. No changes were discussed after the first reading, and we wanted this in place so that it could go in the handbook as written. Once again, it is per changes to regulations, so we just want to make sure we're following the law, which we like to do. And then we have a second reading without changes, but we're not asking for an adoption at this time, so you'd see this again. This is KI visitors to the school. It says no changes, but then changes were made, so I apologize. So the changes that are being proposed are substantial, which is why we'll definitely bring it back. But we, as a committee, felt that it was clearer this way to just itemize 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, what visitors can and can't do, and procedures around coming into the schools, as opposed to simply just saying, you can meet with a teacher, you could do all these things, but this just seemed to be clearer and more direct.
And, we wanted to appreciate the fact that it was brought to our attention that at some point, somebody had come into one of the schools and just said, oh, well, I was told I could do this. And they weren't there to see a teacher, they weren't there to see a student, they just walked in and started using a piece of equipment. So it's like, okay, we want to be clear about that. Also, it was brought up that could open us up to liability. So when we are more clear, it is helpful for us to just be able to say, nope, this is what we're letting people in for, this is the only thing, and kind of covering ourselves and in that way. So that's another reason that we kind of
Yeah.
wanted to say.
And the memo does say with changes, so I just read it wrong. So there are substantial changes, take a look at them, and I think it provides further clarity. And then finally, we're presenting for a first read with some changes, IHAM, health, education, and exemption from instruction. So these are changes that were brought forward to us based on changes in regulations, and it just talks about what we will do, notification, and then how you exempt your individual child from this particular.
Is this the one that we took the line out of too about what we are covering?
Yes, so the New Hampshire School Board Association is a great resource for sample policies, but they're written for K-12 districts. And so it identified some things that we don't teach in pre-K to 6. So we pulled out some content that was really just present in our high school curriculum.
Yeah,
It
just to
didn't
make it
sense.
clear for parents, because I personally felt like when we look at it, it's like, okay, as a parent, I could see why those words are kind of like red flagging, but if they're not being covered, then it's kind of like, then you go through the whole thing, they get to the school, they're like, they're not actually being covered, it's like, why didn't you just say that? So we thought by just making it more simple and kind of covering what our students would be covering, parents would have a more accurate
Yeah,
picture when they're
appreciate
giving
that.
consent or not, so that's kind of cool.
Definitely appreciate that.
And those are the policies.
Do you have any questions about any of them?
I had a couple questions. I know we were at third reading and adopt, but I think I saw when I was reading it, we did put in the charge for electronic.
Which one are you looking
Are
at?
they the
It's
EHR?
either EH or EHR. So thank you to the policy committee for doing that. I just,
And it is important to note still, the first 250 are not charged, it's just following that.
Beyond that.
thank you.
15 cents.
The other thing, it's just more of an interesting point that when I was reading through the reporting child abuse or neglect, one of the points was, if you see if you see a child being bullied, then that can count as well. So I just thought that was really interesting, as a thing as an incident that should be reported. And that was it.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Awesome.
Do you have something? You were reaching for the microphone.
That was a good point. I'm glad you brought that point up.
You got it done today.
All right, we don't need to vote on those again, right? Because we did it.
No,
We didn't vote, we have to vote.
Oh, now we have to vote.
On the memo, I think, to
The memo of
accept
the
them
whole-
all.
So you made the
Right.
motion.
So, I made the
So we just have to
motion.
vote.
We went through them. So all in favor to accept?
Thank you.
Excellent.
And just a heads up, the spring policy update is coming out soon, so we'll have a new
Hooray.
list of policies
There will
to
be-
discuss.
Can I just ask really quickly, for policy committee, do you know which what is your procedure for, because there's so many,
Yeah.
could you just educate me a little bit on
Yeah,
that?
so we get a fall and a spring policy update from School Board Association, and they tell us, in addition to our attorneys, will tell us, these are changes in RSAs that require a change in policy. So that's a really good place to start. We also, sometimes with grants, they're asking for certain policies in place. And so we have to make sure that we have those and they're updated and they meet that need. If there was a time when a policy maybe wasn't clear to a member of the public and we had a good discussion about it, then we'll refer it to the committee to see, maybe we need to make some changes. And maybe that conversation took place in one of our other districts, and so we made a change over there, and we thought, we should probably, update it in our other districts as well. So sometimes the policies are brought to us from a community member to review. So,
I think you had mentioned that sometimes too, just if something happens, even if it's not a parent conversation, but like if something occurs in another district, that it might be easier or helpful to streamline. than
yeah.
that policy.
Like a really obvious example is the addition of e-cigarettes and vape pens to the policies, because when they were written, they didn't
Not
exist.
big.
And so we have to sort of change language, update them.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
All right, do we have anything else?
We have another motion in front of us.
I know, who wants to make that one?
It's to leave, right?
Yes, to adjourn.
Motion.
Okay.
I will
Do you get to do the
second.
last month?
All in favor? I am gonna say though at the June board meeting, the motion to adjourn, Principal Belay has to make that one. Nobody else is
Oh
allowed
man,
to
she
make
has
that.
to do the ball, then she has
I
to
mean,
do
that's
the
so much
motion.
This is getting really fun.
I know it's a lot
Oh
of
my
pressure,
gosh.
I know.
We're
But
We're making her work.
necessary
Oh,
that you
thank
make
you.
that final motion.
Here,
And
she
then
can do that, I'll do this
final
one.
heads up. I'm sorry, at the June meeting, Lauren will be the superintendent representative. I will be at the state level superintendent's conference.
Fine.
Oh, that's a party.
And the outline that gets sent